Hey, what's up everyone? It's Lawrence here and I'd like to welcome you into the Movieverse. Today me and the gang are going to be discussing Disney's musical fantasy Encanto. Now Encanto is about a multi-generational Colombian family, the Madrigals, who have all been blessed with magical power that they call a gift. Except for one of the grandchildren, Maribel, who was not given one of these gifts. The Madrigals use their gifts to serve the community that they live in, which is called Encanto. The story centers around Maribel and how she copes with her situation and as being the only member without a gift. Despite her situation, she's not resentful and she does her best to serve both her family and her community. However, things take a turn for the worse when Maribel has a horrifying vision of her family's magical house, the casita, crumbling around her, and she then finds out that her family are also losing their magic power. So Maribel sets off on an adventure to discover the truth behind this vision and how to prevent it in order to save both her family and her home. Now, with that brief synopsis out of the way, let's dive right into the discussion.
Yeah, so what I like about this particular story is it's very grounded. My takeaway from the story before we get into the nitty gritty, my takeaway from the story is that all these characters, they have these superpowers, and it's like a magical, fantastical setting, but the core, the meat of it is it's just a slice. It's almost like a slice of life, with the without the addition of the twist with the character. It's more or less just a slice of life. It's a family that live in a house, and if you take away their powers, they're basically just regular people. The way the story transpires. Again, there's not. We'll get more into detail with this, but there's not really a villain, as you would call it. It's basically just like family feuding and disagreements and just what would be the word? Just obviously people learning new things and revelations coming to light. Things that people have kept
Yeah.
buried, but then they've wrapped they've put the slices of bread are the powers, the magic, to make it more fantastical, to make it more appealing to kids and people who are into magical and superhero sort of genres. But how do you guys feel about the story? I don't know if you want. There's a key part that you wanted to sort of jump on or highlight.
Yeah,
Um,
not. Oh, go ahead, man.
gonna, so I was gonna say, I think the overall theme of the movie, I think, is one that is quite relatable, especially within the family setting, in terms of living up to expectation of your family and your community.
Yeah,
You see that all of the characters are trying to play the role that they think they should in the eyes of their grandmother and the community as a whole, and how none of them actually feel like they can express themselves for who they actually are, and that they see themselves as never being good enough to achieve those expectations. And I think we all feel like that sometimes, and I think that was actually quite a deep theme to present in a kids movie, and I think they've done quite a good job of presenting that theme throughout. And obviously, to make it entertaining, they add the powers on top, but fundamentally it was about all of each member of the family struggling with being what is expected of them, including the main character, who was not um, who felt like she did disappoint her whole family by not even being gifted a magical power.
mm,
So I thought that was quite a deep theme for kids to grapple with as well, because, and maybe they may not recognize it when they're watching it, but they probably will relate to it subconsciously while watching it, seeing that on the surface this looks like a great happy family, but there is turmoil beneath the surface that it only becomes revealed when a crisis occurs.
yeah,
So I thought
yeah.
that was quite
Yeah,
interesting.
no,
I
agree.
think that's something that Disney tends to do, isn't it? Disney tend to always kind of have that nitty gritty undertone to their movies, and it's the kind of thing that you probably do end up recognizing when you're older, as opposed to when you're younger. It's like going back and watching older Disney movies now. You probably end up seeing a lot more than you used to. But yeah, I totally agree with both of you. It's definitely kind of hits me as more of the slice of life, family drama, and baggage kind of themes running through the movie, as opposed to just like a happy Disney movie. And I guess as well, like not to kind of go deep into the story, but I guess the thing is a lot of us who can relate to it probably will appreciate the ending. Like the ending is, I would say it was a happy ending, and I think that's the kind of thing that we would want to have for our own families, our own groups. So I think that Disney does a good job at kind of bringing it back round to that happy ending, as opposed to keeping it like on the dark side. You know,
I think it's against Disney rules to have an unhappy ending, to be fair. I mean, kind of deep, because it's meant for kids, to be fair. I mean, if you're giving them that reality at a young age, bro. I mean, like, imagine if Lion King just ended after Mufasa died and turfed out, for example. You know what I mean? It's just... we always need that Disney happy ending. So it's good to get that closure, to show that you can overcome these and harsh bits, and we do need that, even if it can be corny at times and unrealistic. But you know, it's still, we need a bit of optimism. If we can't get it in our entertainment and arts, where are we going to get it from?
No, that's true. It's true. Do you think the story had like a lot of content for you guys? Because for me, when I was watching the movie, I definitely like I felt the different stages or chapters, however you want to call it, the different parts of the movie. You know, beginning, middle, end. But for me, it did kind of feel like something was kind of lacking in terms of the story content.
Mate, I couldn't agree more, because I actually watched it twice. I watched it again because the first time, like, I really enjoyed the visuals. The songs were amazing. Obviously, we'll go more into detail with that. I just want to touch on that briefly. So all of those auxiliary things that sort of surround the story, so like, you know, make the movie what it is, were incredible. However, the actual story itself, it just felt a little underwhelming. Sorry, Ruben. It was lacking that hero's journey. And
yes, yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it.
Yeah.
It was more of an internalized, like it's like an internalized growth, and I think that's represented by the fact that everything takes place within this one house. Like the hero doesn't have to go on you know, apart from obviously, that's what I'm trying to say. But whether it's a bad thing or a good thing, I mean, that's down to whoever's watching it. Some people will like that about it, and other people will be looking for more.
What were you just saying, Cam?
I think that's more because it's not, as much as they got powers, it's not really a story that's about an adventure. It's more of, it's like a Family Matters kind of movie. So you meet all the cast, and like the beginning song, they talk about all different family members, and the one theme that comes back in that song is, "What about you?"
Yeah.
So,
no, I definitely get that.
Growth, rather than an adventure, it's more investigating the characters and who they are in this household.
So I guess as well, like I'm not sure if like maybe it felt like it was a bit empty because of maybe the number of characters that were on screen. Obviously, you've got like the main character, what's her name, Mirabelle, and then you've got like the other kind of her siblings, so like kind of the supporting cast. But there was quite a good number of them. So maybe, and obviously some of them had their own songs as well. So maybe that was why it felt like it was lacking a bit, because maybe it tried to focus on all these different moving parts as opposed to just the one character as the main thing.
Yeah, I think that was fundamentally probably what the problem was, in terms of there were a lot of characters in this movie, and a lot of them were very one-dimensional because they just didn't have the time to flesh a lot of these characters out.
Yeah,
like the main characters that probably got any sort of attention apart from the main character was probably her siblings, and that was about it, and also one of her uncle as well, who we'll talk about later. But apart from that, all the other
we don't talk about him, bruv.
Yeah, we don't talk about him.
I was wondering who was going to make that joke first.
That song, we don't talk about him. You know what I mean? That song was a banger, though, I ain't gonna lie.
We'll talk.
But I think that was funny. It seemed like the rest of the family were more just plot devices to move to the next plot point rather than actual characters, which is a shame. And to be fair, I mean, almost all movies struggle when they have a large cast to try and give them. It takes a very, very good story and very good direction to actually feel like you can have a large cast of characters and actually give them the due time they need to actually look at like real people rather than just plot devices to move the story on to the next act. And I don't think this movie did that very well, and that is probably why we felt, apart from the story being lacking, is the characters within it were mostly lacking. And also, like you said, there isn't a major adventure for the hero to go on. It's more an internal struggle, which is somewhat represented in like the magical nature of the house, but it's not. It does happen all within the same place, so that's probably where there's a feeling of it's not on a grand scale, which again, it is subjective as to whether you would want a grand, because a grand adventure in this movie just wouldn't seem appropriate based on the actual story. So I think they did okay with that, considering.
Although I did actually think of the point that the adventure was going to be about her going off to find Bruno. That's where I thought it was going. So that could have been something they could have done, which I think would have. Which
technically she did. I mean, technically she did. It just
he was hiding.
Yeah.
He was hiding in the building, bro. Like, that is not an adventure, bro.
That would be.
I mean, to be fair, I like that he was hiding in Bruno because it showed that he does care about his family. I mean, that whole bit with the where he's showing the little plate and stuff, that got me quite good. So,
I'll touch it.
So I'm glad they did do that, but you're right. It would have been nice to maybe have a bit more effort to find Bruno, even though.
No, of course. I think going back to what I was saying earlier about like it sort of missing that journey, for me, I didn't really feel anything in terms of like when I think back to it, I don't like, apart from the actual joy of the music, I didn't really feel anything for the characters necessarily. I mean, I like the sort of sibling rivalry between Isabella and Mirabelle. That dynamic was pretty interesting. But yeah, other than that, like I did relate with some of the struggles, like, you know, the responsibilities of each character held. But yeah, there was no like crushing moment or like part where I was elated. And yeah, I don't know if the story could have done with being a bit longer. Maybe if they had time to like flesh out the characters, give some of the characters a bit more depth, especially like the side characters.
I think so, because I remember like when it was finally getting, well, I wouldn't say interesting, but stuff actually started happening. I saw the timeline and it was only like 40 minutes left, so I guess it did kind of, either they spent too long at the beginning or they should have added more at the end.
Yeah, because I would disagree and say I don't think this movie should have been longer, because I think then it would have dragged on. I think more to the point is probably they could have cut out some parts or maybe make some of the songs shorter, because I think the length of the movie was just right in terms of it didn't outstay its welcome, it didn't linger. I wasn't bored. I didn't like, it's like, it was, I think it was around 90 minutes. I can't remember how long the movie actually was, but it didn't overstay its welcome. So yeah, I think I agree that some of the characters may need to be fleshed out, would probably be difficult, but making it longer, made the movie longer, I think would have just made the movie seem like it's dragging on a bit now. I mean, I think one of the movie's strengths is it didn't outstay its welcome.
It's very rewatchable. It's very rewatchable. If you're in it just for the glitz and the glamour, then it's very rewatchable. It's not too heavy-handed with the. Yeah.
Because I did enjoy the fact that each song had to do with a specific character to kind of flesh them out a bit more. So that was quite nice. You did kind of understand them more, but as you said, Pia, it was kind of hard to really proper be attached to them, I guess. I'm not sure what they could have done better, but because I feel like they did do it quite well, but for some reason just didn't hit me, like you said.
The thing is, like, just going off what you said, so it's like, I think like the themes and the struggle that was put across through the songs of the characters, those were quite powerful, and I quite like the fact they all had, like you said, they all had their own individual struggle. With like Louisa, you had like the stress of like being like the older sibling and like feeling like the weight and family pressure on her shoulders.
She's actually the second oldest.
Who's the oldest?
The flower girl's the oldest.
Yeah.
Oh, she's the oldest. Oh, I
Wait,
did not even
are
know
you,
that, bro.
was it Isabella the one that was?
Isabella.
Is she the oldest?
Isabella, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's the oldest one. Yeah,
And
but
like-
it comes across that Louise is the oldest.
Yeah, it does.
She's
And
not
then-
actually. Yeah.
And then like
She's
you've got
just hench.
just going on to like Isabella. You've got Isabella like had the whole thing where she, for me it was like she always felt like she had to come across as being perfect and not really kind of be herself.
Yeah.
The family members, that kind of thing. And then obviously Bruno was kind of like the outcast of the family. Like I think he was like the saddest character personally. He was like the family outcast. And then you had the other sister.
Bruno.
I'm sorry. And then you had the other sister. I can't remember her name, but the other sister who obviously was in love with.
She's a cousin.
dude. Oh, the cousin, yeah. The cousin that was in love with the dude.
Something.
Yeah. She was in love with the dude that Isabella was meant to marry. And yeah, they all kind of had like their own struggle around those issues. So I definitely feel like people watching it will be able to relate to at least one character from some experience in their lives.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
because it's like a telenovela, isn't it? It's like a drama orientated sort of family dynamic, which is a really cool idea, to be honest. Like, I think this was inevitable that Disney would go in this direction, because they're basically just trying to cover all bases. And when it comes to like diversity and cultural appropriation, they're like, who can we tick off the box next? Look, we've done Japan, we've done China, we've done Africa. Who's
They
next,
did
man? Who's next?
all of Asia together.
All
in
of
the last
Asia,
one.
yeah,
All
basically.
Asia.
Just wrap it up in one.
Yeah. I do like that they're keeping it, like they make that diverse. It's always good to see like a lot more like diversity on screen, especially like in Disney, like if something like kids watch, it's always good to see that. How did you guys feel about the creativity, like Powers and like the house and like
I love the house.
how specific their rooms were? I thought that was really
Yeah,
cool. Had their
that was
own
really
room, and it was like representative
Yeah.
of their powers and themselves. That
Yeah,
was really cool.
I like that. I really do like that aspect of it. I felt like, and excuse my French, but I felt like the explanation as to how the powers came about was a little bit BS. But
Yeah.
but the power, like the way they utilize the powers and the powers themselves were really cool, really flashy, really showy, and it was just perfect for the whole. Disney movies, especially the musicals, they have those sequences where they go into like, I call it the fantasy verse, where it's just like it's just colors. There's no like the scenery behind them disappears. They're no longer in reality. They're just like, this is just
It's just a representation of the emotions. That
right.
people want to see.
Yeah. Exactly. And they usually they really use, especially with older sister, it really blossoms, no pun intended, through the use of their powers as well. Yeah, so I don't know how you guys felt about it in terms of the powers and whatnot.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, like, all of them getting their own room.
Yeah.
It was harsh on Maribel because she was just left in the closet or whatever, some nursery. But all of them got their own special room. I thought it was...
Yeah, that was cool. The only thing is,
I
like,
thought it was really good. Yeah.
the only weakness, like when it comes to that aspect, is going back to what we were discussing. You know how this is. It's basically, if you take away the magic, it's basically just a family drama, right? Now, because that is the meat and bones of the story, the powers are basically pointless. So they have these powers, but they're not integral to the actual story.
Yes.
And obviously, Mirabelle, she's the one that has no powers. So I think they had to do that in order to make her relevant. Because if everybody's like, okay, so the strong girl, she has to like put the house back together. She has to use her strength to put the house back together. The flower girl, she has to do something with her powers. Like, Mirabelle is just there, like, oh, what do I do? So I think that's why they had to sort of take that away. But anyway.
And do you know what as well? Like, I guess I'm kind of 50-50, 70-30 on the point, but I guess like you could almost you could argue that like Bruno's ability is quite integral to the story, because it all everything that happens. Like, you're not really told to what degree his ability affects the future. All you're told is that when he predicts the future, the things inevitably happen, but you're not told if he's actually causing these things to happen, or if it's literally just he is just seeing what's going to happen. But the other characters regard it as he is making these things happen.
Yeah, it's inferred. It's inferred that he is responsible for it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So you could argue that like his ability is probably the main driving force of the film. Like without it, it kind of falls apart. You know what I mean? But
because apparently he only sees bad things. Although in one of the songs, it was said that he saw something good for Isabella, the oldest one.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, he just saw bad things. Which was.
I mean, I thought the powers themselves are a bit flimsy because you only see one person get the powers. That's the is that the nephew? And it's built up where she said, I know you like animals, a Hezo thing, and he happens to get a power that he can speak to animals. But does that mean that all the other characters, they had something to do with that in their personality? Is it Isabella that she likes powers? A bit flimsy.
I think that's what they were trying to imply, but obviously when you don't know the characters, you don't really know if that's actually true or not.
Exactly.
So, So it could just be a massive coincidence.
And we don't even know the origin of like where these powers like come from, like what what the origin behind them is. We don't even know why the house starts to fall apart and they start to lose their abilities. That's all. I mean, you could argue
it's a prophecy. It's a prophecy.
Well, yeah, it's the prophecy, but you could say it's like the kind of like the stabilization of the family unit. Exactly, it's like the physical manifestation of the family falling apart, which you could say, but it's all like you said, it's inferred. We're not really specifically told. Here's the problem. Go fix it. I think
candle.
I think the whole cracking of the house and stuff. I think that's supposed to be maybe slightly vague. Even though I don't think it's actually that vague. I think it was pretty heavily implied that it's because the family's going to fall apart.
She got left out, not part of the family, so the house is breaking.
And that it was just keeping up a facade. I think the grandmother was just trying to keep up the facade that we are a good family and we are happy, and which is what a lot of families actually do in real life.
Big problem.
They plaster. They put a plaster on a gaping wound in terms of the family to so that the community think that everything's okay when behind closed doors it's not. And I think that's what the cracking of the house was probably trying to symbolize.
That's a really good observation. Actually, that's a really good observation. And I think that's very apparent.
Bruno, even though he'd left, he was still trying to keep the family together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. This is it. He's
do you guys think that? I was gonna say, do you guys think there? You were saying, Peter, about there's a differentiation between like a villain and an antagonist. So do you definitely think there was an antagonist in this film?
I mean, for sure. Like every story needs an antagonist. Without an antagonist, there's no story. And an antagonist doesn't even have to be a person. It can just be an obstacle. But in this, and I'd say this is like one of the biggest issues with the movie for me personally. Obviously, again, this doesn't mean that it's a bad movie, but this is why when I watched Sing 2, I was like, Sing 2 reminds me of like the good old Disney days, because I feel like the problem with Disney nowadays is they've kind of they've taken on board too much of Pixar style, because Pixar is more about humanity, more about emotions. Even if they're making a story about a toothbrush, that toothbrush has a personality. That toothbrush is a human, and it has human sort of like what do you call it? Feelings, emotions. Yeah, that's what the story is about. It's about learning something. Whereas Disney was about like we've got a hero, we've got a villain. It's black and white. Hero has to save the day. Villain is trying to do something malicious. And I feel like Disney's just got to the point where it's just, well, with this movie anyway, it's just like, we're not really trying to tell those kind of stories no more. We just want to make something that's completely relatable, completely down to earth in terms of like the story. And while that is good, it can be heartwarming, but at the same time, it's like we watch movies for escapism. Like we want to like people like to what's the term I'm thinking of? They love to hate a villain. You know what I mean? Like, you watch a story to see the villain, to see how they're gonna conquer this villain. Like, how are they gonna stop this unstoppable force? Or like, I mean, that kind. So that is kind of what I thought was missing. Well, the revelation is good, and it is obviously something heartwarming. It has a good message behind it, but at the same time, again, going back to Sing 2 just had this sociopathic wolf, and I was like, raw, this guy. Every time.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, have you not seen it yet? Oh, whoops.
Nah.
Sorry. But anyway, it just kept upping the stakes. Like the movie just kept upping the stakes, and you feel like really bad for the main character in Sing 2 because you're like, raw, how is he gonna get out of this? Whereas I never felt that for this movie. So
I would say on the flip side of that is in family dynamics, obviously there's always a perceived villain, but I think in this case, I think what it was trying to do is see everyone's side and perspective on it. So that's why there isn't a main antagonist. It's just, well, a main quote unquote villain, like your old Disney's where you'd have the evil brother or the evil stepsisters or the evil, where it's just people trying to do the right thing and maybe going about it the wrong way. And I think that's probably why it doesn't feel which seems more realistic for this, because if there was just if Bruno, for example, turned out to be the evil bad brother, I think that would have actually detracted from the story. I think that would have been a bit too simplistic. I think the fact that it was actually presented that the actual overall antagonist of this movie, I believe, was actually turned out to be the grandmother, even though she didn't mean to be. She wasn't. She was just trying to be strong for the community and doing the best she thought she could. But in doing so, she was actually alienating the family that she does actually care about.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably why this is actually maybe a good direction in that. I do sometimes hate when movies just have that simplistic bad guy, good guy dynamic, and rather than actually looking through intentions and motivations and again an understanding and making the villain or the antagonist actually seem like a human being rather than just a character in a story. And I think that's probably because this is a more slice of life movie, you don't probably want an actual evil villain, because most families, even if you've got like bad actors in it, a lot of the time from their perspective they think they're the good actor. They don't realize what they're doing. That's probably what the case is there.
No, you're right,
man. Like 100%, like what you said is how I feel. Like life, there's not always a clear antagonist. There's always like some obscurity of who is trying to get you down, or like who the villain is. So this is, I mean, I think that's why it was important that they didn't have like a proper villain, but someone that you can kind of relatably not hate, but like go against, which was the grandmother, because you could see that what she was doing was wrong, but she can see it and we can relate, because I'm sure we've had family members like that who have been like that. And the same with all the characters and stuff, because there's one character I thought was quite important for the kids in this generation to know, is that, you know, the one that's a bit too perfect, and they realize that that's not who she is. And in this day of social media and like Instagram influencers and stuff, that's kind of like what they kind of need to see as well, that people aren't always perfect. Behind the scenes, it, you know, isn't always like that. So I like that kind of stuff, that it was just more about, they were more focusing on relating to the characters rather than having like a, you know, like a villain to hate and all that kind of stuff.
Super, you got my eyes watering, man.
Yeah.
For the kids, man. For the kids.
No, absolutely. No, I actually do agree with you guys. I mean, at the end of the day, a villain, we don't need to have a villain like in terms of evil for the sake of being evil. You know, everybody, as you said, Law, everybody sees themselves as the hero, even if they're doing bad things. They still sees themselves as doing it for the greater good, which is what the case was here. And like I don't need a story to just have like a black and white story, hero and villain. I like the villain to be relatable as well, even if I don't agree with what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it. So, but with this one, I think from where I'm coming from is, I just don't think she was despicable enough. If that, like, what she was doing. Yeah, she was doing it. She was alienating everybody, but at the same time, she's just a grandma. It's like, imagine a grandma. Imagine the villain of your story is a grandma. It's like, all right, cool, fair enough.
Just like going off that, like, do you we spoke about the characters like quite a bit. Do you feel like like the voice acting and whatnot, and like, do you think that was enough to bring all the characters to life as much as they could? I'm not really too like in the know about like who was doing voice acting, but just like curiosity.
I didn't know one of the voice actors, and that was the main character. And I think she did.
Yes, Stephanie.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Stephanie.
Brooklyn,
yeah, exactly. I was about to say Stephanie Beatrice. She really surprised me because it just shows how versatile she is with her acting ability.
Yeah. With regards to voice acting, I think if you don't notice, like it didn't sound like someone was voicing a character, for example. These characters, I think, sounded real. They sounded, looked real, and I think Disney's always been very good at doing that in terms of like making the characters like pop off the screen and actually look real. And I think the voice acting was great. It didn't sound like anyone was doing any ridiculous voices, or it didn't sound like anyone was doing it characters. And I think that is when it's just seamless like that. I think that's probably the best way, because it just looks like these are just characters that you would be seeing if they were real, for example. And not cartoons or animations. So I thought everyone did a good job, and the singing I thought was excellent as well. Some of the singers on there were fantastic. So I thought the voice acting and the casting, they got that down great. I don't know a lot about them, but from this side, I thought they'd done excellent.
What was your favorite song? Oh yeah.
Are we getting into songs already? Yeah. Are we getting into? Oh man.
I like the one the sang. I can't remember what it was, because unfortunately I watched the movie literally just a few hours ago, so I haven't had time to kind of digest the songs and listen to them over and over again. But I do remember enjoying the one that Strong Girl sang. It's quite a good one.
Pressure.
Oh right, the one about Pressure.
It's a chart topper, isn't it? I was like, if I heard this on the radio, I'd be turning the knob up. I'd be turning it up. But
brother, I got 2 songs on Spotify.
Trust me.
Trust
me.
We don't talk about Bruno and Pressure.
To be honest, the soundtrack for this movie has already become like a cultural phenomenon. Like it's all over socials, TikTok, Instagram. Like I'm just seeing the songs everywhere, and like fan art everywhere. So I think needless to say,
it hit #1 in the US or something, like the first Disney movie to ever do it, or something like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm not even surprised. This film has really, outdone itself in terms. I'm sure they were expecting it to be huge, but this film has like become really big, and I think the Bruno song is pretty much rivaling the Let It Go fame, the phenomenon. Without a doubt, this will be a stage musical, like a Broadway musical. I think that's the natural progression. I thought all the songs were amazing.
The Pressure one was quite catchy for me. Like the chorus and whatnot. I thought that was pretty catchy.
And the bars as well. The bars
I think the lyrics literally in that song told you everything, or all the main bits you need to know about a character, which I thought, she basically just gave you her whole character through that song. And I also thought the singing as well, like the singing in that song, her singing, her voice was quite emotional. Like you can hear like the tone changes like throughout the song between like the verses and like the chorus, and you can hear like towards the end her tone slightly changes back to the chorus as well. Like she's sounding a bit more distressed as like the song goes on. So I thought that was pretty cool the way he done that.
No, definitely.
Yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that. The voice acting and the singing was, now that I'm thinking about it more as you said that, it was actually quite top notch. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel like sorry, you go on.
I was gonna say also, while I don't think it was the best song, the first song I thought done a good job of introducing, giving a brief snapshot into all of the characters very quickly, in a very fun way. And also presenting the fact that she wouldn't talk about herself, which also showed.
It was a great character moment.
Struggle.
Yeah.
So I thought that in that song there, it was a good 3 or 4 minutes or whatever, just setting the scene for everything. I think it was a good way for a musical to do it. Because I don't watch too many musicals, so I'm not sure if
that's a good one. Because a lot of musicals kind of have a song just for the sake of it, but as you said, each of these songs were important and integral to the story. And whereas some, like, if they didn't sing it, it would have probably taken a good 20 minutes to establish that. But in a song, you can kind of do a lot more. because of the lyrics and the visual imagery and everything. So yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
It's a really good way to introduce the characters.
So it's a great tool for storytelling. And when people say, "Oh, I don't like musicals," it's like Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. Like these are all songs that these are all movies we grew up with, and they're basically built on famous musicals or like famous songs. But I was gonna say, you guys aware of Lin-Manuel Miranda? Like he basically he co-wrote this a lot of the music on this film, and I think he's just got the golden touch. Like everything he hasn't stepped a foot wrong so far as I know. Everything he's worked on has just been amazing in terms of the music. Have you guys seen Hamilton or listened to it?
Yeah,
dude,
really good, man. Really good.
He has a gift. I'm telling you, like, because the way he's able to like write, like you were saying, Law, how the songs basically explain the story. Like you get so much story through so much exposition through the songs, and I think that's the great thing about musicals, especially like these Disney musicals, is they're a great form of exposition. Because when a film's giving away exposition, it's usually the most boring part because it's just telling you backstory. That's basically what it is. But when you do it through musicals, it's very entertaining, and you sort of absorb it a lot more effectively. You absorb the story a lot more effectively through song. So if you're like a freshie when it comes to musicals, just look up Lin-Manuel Miranda. Look at all the movies he's made, and just you'll fall in love, man, because he's really talented.
Did he do In the Heights?
He did In the Heights, yeah. He did Moana. He did Coco or Viva Coco, which is another like film that went under the radar. I don't know if anyone saw that, but I really liked it and I thought it's underrated. That's on Netflix, by the way. Cool. So but he's worked on quite a few things.
Oh, did he do Tick Tick Boom? Was that him as well?
No, I don't. Wait, did he? I think he might have worked on that actually.
No,
I think right. Yeah, he did. He did. Right, he did work on that, and that won an Oscar as well, didn't it? I think it was nominated for like an Emmy or something.
Nominated or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if it won.
Okay, all right then. It maybe wasn't an Oscar, but it definitely won something. I think it might have been an Emmy or BAFTA, one of these ones.
I think Oscars haven't happened yet, so we can find out.
Yeah, well, boy, I wouldn't be surprised if it does because it's getting a lot of critical fanfare, so it's getting a lot of praise. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that guy's killing it.
So yeah, for me, the music knocks it out of the park. Like this is the main reason why I'd watch it again. This is probably the only reason I'd watch it again, if I'm being honest. I'd rather just watch the clips from each section of the story.
So getting on to that, I was about to say. So in terms of rewatchability, and it could just be obviously my bad because I don't watch musicals a lot. Would I rewatch this movie again? Probably not, to be honest. I don't think the story warrants a rewatch of this movie, but I'll replay the fuck out of some of them songs. And I have been to be fair. Like they're already on my songs, in them, those two in particular. I will replay those, but I wouldn't actually rewatch the movie. I don't think there's any need to. I don't think the story was good enough for me to want. Yeah, I agree. Rewatch it. I agree. You get everything you need from it. I'd agree.
Yeah.
What do you guys so just like we all seem like we quite like to hear about like where everyone scores it, if it's quite high or just like a full 10 out of 10. So what do you guys kind of think in terms of scoring?
Well, before we get to the scoring, did you guys want to talk about the animation or anything? Was there anything unique about this movie
I do
that
want
you
to
like in terms of visuals?
The beauty of the colors they use and the vividness and the lushness of all, because that's something that's important in like South American culture as well as African culture, all this kind of stuff. They always go really into the color and they really put that out there beautifully, especially with everything with the flowers and everything, which is so beautifully done.
Right. The color palette was they hit out the part. I mean, to be fair, at this point I don't think Disney really usually get the animation wrong from this point. They're like masters.
It's like standard now, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, we would have to hit one of the studios for it to actually affect a movie.
Yeah.
So I think through the songs, innit? Through the songs, like they've really done a good job with the color scheme and animation.
Yeah. I wanted to add as well that I liked that they made the main character. She's a very in terms of her character design, she's a very down to earth looking sort of girl. Like she's quite thick She's got like, I think it's the first time we've had a Disney protagonist who's got glasses. I don't know, I might be wrong, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she looks.
I mean, I'm not disbelieving you. I just
I can't really. No one really comes to mind
for a main character.
For a main character.
Yeah, our main character. Maybe.
Yeah, so she's very like what's the word, like just down to earth, I guess.
Relatable.
Very relatable.
Yeah, she doesn't look like a Disney princess.
No, exactly.
Like
She almost kind of reminds me of and I don't mean to sound bad, but it's not really an insult, but you know, Ugly Betty. Do you remember that sitcom? Kind of reminds me of that because she's meant. I think she's just meant to look very normal.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why you have the look they gave her. The older sister is Isabella. Yeah, that's why you have that
Christmas princess kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. She is the Disney princess character, in quotes, but she is actually, you know, she's not happy either. Do you know what I mean? She has what people would perceive to say, you know, good looks. She's got the voice, she's got good powers. Everyone likes her, but she's still not happy. So,
and she's the more typical character design that you would have gone for. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, the first concept art, someone was like, okay, this is how the main character's gonna look, and then someone was like, but that's, you know, that's what people expect. Like, let's make something different. Do you know what I mean? So she was probably the first draft.
It's similar what it is for Lilo and Stitch. Obviously, Lilo and her sister are both very down to earth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
same with Moana as well. Actually, Moana was quite.
Moana.
Like,
I mean, she was
like pretty. She was quite thick and like, yeah.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, she was. Yeah, no, she wasn't like your typical princess type. No, she definitely wasn't. But
this is the first one where it's like proper normal and down.
Exactly, yeah. And you got like I don't think Disney's ever done like a proper butch. I mean, she's not really butch, but she's, you know, her older sister. What's her name again? Sorry, the one
Louisa.
that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's that pretty much sums up all our opinions in terms of like the different aspects of the movie. So what we'll do, we'll just go around and see how everybody would rate this out of 10. Is that what we're rating it out of 10, right? So, yep. I mean, I really enjoyed the music. I really enjoyed the story in terms of how the story was told through the music. In terms of the actual like nuts and bolts of the story itself, I was a little bit let down because I was expecting a bit more, but I was entertained nonetheless. So I would give it a 7 out of 10. Personally, that's what I would give it. What about you, Brixton?
Nominate. Brixton, we can just go with Ruben. It's cool, bro.
I just want to play it safe with it.
Yeah.
You have to think about it.
Yeah. I was like, no, do you know it's funny. I was giggling because I would agree spot on 7. I definitely think the story was quite creative. It wasn't typical of what you'd get from a Disney movie. And like you said, the main character was quite relatable, but then again, all the characters were quite relatable on some level once you kind of like peel them apart like an onion. So yeah, I think for me, a comfortable 7. I think what was missing for me was just a bit more content in the story to flesh out the characters, which I don't think they could have done, to be fair, with like obviously the timing and how many characters they were. But also as well, nothing really like hit me like in my chest. So I think for me, the last Disney movie that done that for me, well actually Coco did it for me, but I watched Coco way after it came out. I didn't watch it on release. Technically, the last movie that done that for me, Disney film, was Soul. That was Disney, right? Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney Pixar.
Yeah, came out. Yeah. I think that came out last year. Was it last year it came out or the year before? Can't remember. But yeah, Soul was the one that done that for me. And that this movie didn't quite hit that kind of emotional itch. So yeah, I'll give it a solid 7. Nominations, Cam. What you got?
I was gonna give it a 6, but I'd mainly give it a 7 for the Bruno character because there's a lot of these animated shows where they have a black sheep in the family, but they're still there. Where in this one they actually said, we don't talk about him, and that really hit home because every family's got that character. Like, we don't talk about him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the family's ashamed.
Nominate someone.
I'll nominate Soups.
Yeah, so I'll go straight off the bat. It's exactly the same as you guys. 7 out of 10 for me because beautiful film. Even though the animation was top tier, it's like it didn't like blow me away because this is what you can expect from Disney now. They've become so good. You're like, oh, it's just beautiful, and I love it. And the relatability of the characters, the story was really nice. At its core, I guess it's nothing really new. You know, the whole you're not special. I'm sorry, you don't have to be called special to be special. What others perceive as special isn't always true, all that kind of stuff. But it is a subject matter that I do like that's been recycled because every new generation needs that new movie that teaches them these kind of things. So this was the one for this current generation. So it's quite nice to see that. And the whole South American aspect of it and the creativity of the house and everything I really, really appreciated. So yeah, it was all of that, and obviously addition of the songs as well. I'd give it a nice 7 out of 10.
Okay, so that just leaves me. And as soon as I came after watching this movie, my instant reaction was, this is a good movie. The story was lacking, but the music and soundtrack, art direction, all of the set, the animation, all kind of was above average for me and was actually very good, if not really it was very good. So I would come on the 7 out of 10 scale as well. I think it was a good movie. It was no more than that. I wouldn't watch it again, but some of the songs I will be playing for years to come. And I think if a movie can stay with you like that, especially a musical, because if the music is not good in a musical, you're kind of sunk really. So I think it got that right, even though the story was a bit lacking. I think getting the music right and telling the good parts of the story did come through the music as well. So I think that was really powerful, and what a musical is basically designed to do. So yeah, I will go for a 7 out of 10 as well.
Cool, full house. I think that's a straight seven across the board.
I was interested to see what people were actually going to think about this. So yeah, it seems like we do seem to agree more often than not.
I'm looking forward to the next one. We don't agree. I think that's gonna have to be special.
I think we are. I think we're all on the same page with this one. It's not quite our demographic, but there is things we can take from it, so it's still enjoyable.
Thank you for taking the time to watch our review of Disney's Encanto. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you at the next review. Thanks, guys.